All right, so planning. One of the things when I talk to clients in the martial arts business is a common problem. We're planning the month while we're in the month. You're planning your day while you're in the day. And obviously, it's probably not just martial arts people, it's probably everybody. So I learned I was the same, and just wasn't working in business. And what would happen is I'd be very frustrated, right? I got this nickname called the Red Dragon because it used to have more red hair, and my face would turn red. I get all angry and upset and frustrated and just ticked off, pissed off, whatever you want to say. So I needed to protect myself from myself. I needed to figure out, just not do the same thing over and over again. So one of the things that I did right off the bat was document. And I'm not the best at this. And so we all have cell phones now, and as technology's improved, it kind of made it easier to document things. So first thing is, before we talk about planning for the year, someone hit me up today. It's like, man, I'm sitting down. He told me, he's like, hey, I'm sitting down tonight and I'm going to plan the first quarter of next year. And I'm like, hey, great. That's awesome, because that's way better than most. And reality is, not only do I have 2025 planned out, I know exactly what I'm doing up until 2030. Now, people are like, you can't predict what's going to happen in the next 5 years. What happens if COVID happens, if this happens? Of course. Do you run a karate school? Do you want to own a business and not a job? I'm Aaron Hensley with Rise USA. I owned over 20 martial arts schools, 6 different states, 3 different time zones, 50 plus full-time staff members. I'm going to help you learn how to scale and own a business while you still impact your community and you can love what you do. Download this free guide right now. I'm going to help you rise. Why during COVID, when most karate school owners borrowed money from the government, I did not, and doubled my revenue that year, right? We did almost $4.5 million in revenue that year and didn't lay off staff, still paid my team, grew my business, but it's because I was preparing, right? The reason why you save money for that rainy day fund is so when the rainy day comes, you know what to do, but you need skills more than you need money. And so I was already doing Zoom classes and things like that before we were forced to. You don't want to be forced into growth. So you prepare, right? When I'm teaching martial arts, particularly katas, I tell people, prep before you step, right? You've got to be prepared before you step into the game. And so most people in your business, in your personal life, you're kind of planning as you're in the moment. And that's typically why you keep having these problems, right? So what I firstly did is I needed to document what was good, bad, and ugly. All right, remember the Clint Eastwood movie way back in the day. So I would take my phone after everything that was considered a moment, a business, a platform that I need to get better at. Could have been something like a belt testing, graduation, a tournament, a seminar class, something where it was a moment where I'm like, this has got to be better. While I was in the emotional state of that event, not after I got home, and I'm talking about in the emotional state, I would take my phone out and I would ask myself these 3 questions. What was really good that I love that I can't wait to do it again? Boom, document it. Kept it very simple, but also very precise. Second, okay, so that was good. What was not good, and I need to keep it, just got to get better at it, okay? Document that. And what was ugly? Ugly to me was, hell to the no, never doing that again. I'm not doing that ever again, and that's horrible. It did not go right, and it's wrong for the business, okay? I would document that. Then I would hack the future by doing this. Well, hey, this event happens 4 times a year, let's say belt testing, or 6 times a year for this event, and I would look at when it's going to happen the next time. And I would take those notes. And then let's say theoretically, this event was on March 31st, and the next time this was going to happen was June 30th, right? So it's 90 days away roughly. I don't have the memory to be able to remember 90 days in the future. Sometimes I can't remember 90 minutes in the past and 90 minutes in the future. I can't do that. So I would take my phone out. It's 90 days in the future. And I would, on that date, make sure I would put a reminder for those things on that date. Then I would set 2 weeks back, 6 weeks back, those same reminders. So that way, if it's 12 weeks in the future, 6 weeks into this, I'm going to get an alert on my phone. Boom. Oh, yeah, it jogs my memory. 2 weeks before the event. So when I'm sitting and talking to staff, I knew exactly what was good and what was bad and what was ugly. So we don't make the same mistakes again. As I had scale, and it wasn't just Aaron and a couple of volunteers, now I had a team, we made this a policy after everything that we did that was considered any kind of moment, to the point that our sales and instructor team at each location would do a 5-minute success meeting pre and post work and document what was going in just in their entity of their business, their relationship, how their ebb and flow. So every day you felt like you're playing a game of getting better, gamifying that a little bit, and then definitely on big things, particularly when we had bell testings. When I had 24 martial arts schools, and on the same day, all 24 schools are having bell testings and graduations, our very next virtual meeting that evening, or that day, was doing the good, bad, and ugly. Very quick, 5-minute meeting, document it, and then hack the future. Right? So that's one thing that I did really well. The next thing is, I would print out a calendar, blank calendar of the next year on November 1st. Okay? So right now we're in 2024. November 1st, I'd print out a blank calendar. And I would require myself before Thanksgiving, before the break, to already have everything that I know is going to happen in the next year. So in 2025, for example, everything that's going to happen. And I would basically make versions of business and personal stuff. So if I knew I had a vacation, if my son had a big karate tournament, if I was hosting something with my church or anything like that, I was doing a mission trip to Israel, like those type of things I put on the calendar. And so that way, for me, I like writing it out first, all right? Because I'd literally put it all over the kitchen table and I'm looking at it, and I would then dictate to my business where I needed to be financially to make things happen. And then I would be able to also look at it and say, hey, does that meet where I want to be in 5 years or in 10 years? At the end of my life, like, does this next year, is it just going to happen for me, or am I controlling where I'm going? And then this is all before Thanksgiving, I would then break it up into the quarters, and I would have my personal, my business. And then I would give an overview to my team of all the business, financial goals and targets, events, everything for the next year, right before going to that break. So when we would train at our last training for the year, they would know every pinnacle moment that's going to happen in the business, and we could predict the revenue because we're controlling the revenue. So they're not entering January, planning January. They already know December. When it's November, they know December of the next calendar year. Now, these are the high points. And so then my next hack was this. I would, on the 15th of the month, give my staff the calendar for the next month of the details. So that was the overview, right? That's the whole year overview. When we're in, let's say November, for example, and it's the 15th of November, we would have our meeting about the next month with all the details. And I'm saying details to the point of who's where, what, when, how, budget, what, everything we're doing. Okay? And so that way, they're still 2 weeks into the current month. So they're not looking so far ahead that they're going to forget about it. But it's enough where, as we get closer to that month, all the things that need to be prepped before we step into that month, they're there for success. Right? Simple policy to do, 15th of the month. So it would require my managers, when they're running a school or multiple schools, because my GMs would run 6 locations. Well, they're following the same policy now at this level. So it requires everybody to not wait to the last minute to plan. You're forced to. It's a part of your SOPs. Then, on the second month of the quarter, we would give the overview details of the next quarter coming. So I'm going to go through this whole policy again. From the first week of November to the third week of November, typically, I'm making sure that the whole calendar is mapped out from the overview standpoint. Okay, I give that to my team going into the November. So when we have our last training of the year, typically it was a lot of times we would close for the full week of November of Thanksgiving and give them the first couple of days that we train, and then they have the rest of the week for them. Okay, sometimes we do it in December. They'd have 2-3 days of training. The best train the most. These are not meetings; these are trainings. And we would spend one of our trainings, for example, in December, when they get this calendar of the overview of everything with the details for the next year. One of the trainings we did 3 days of just how do we do better at customer service, answering phones, greeting people at the door as they exit the building. 3 days of this with staff from 24 locations in one physical brick and mortar school practicing this. 6 different states. It was an expensive training when you're owning a business like that, but needed because we wanted to be best of class. All right. So they get that. Going into their holiday break for Thanksgiving. So the next training, they're kind of mentally prepared and they know where the calendar year is going. Then on the 15th of each month, they would get the details of the next month coming. All the details, who, what, when, where, how, everything's happening. They already knew the overview. Now it's the details. And then on the second month of a quarter, they got the quarter detail overview. So they're mentally prepared. So nothing surprising, because nobody likes getting hit up with a surprise of, hey, by the way, tomorrow you're doing this. And you want to throw somebody's mental fortitude off. And if they had big things planned in their personal life, it gave them plenty of time to prepare to give us communication so we can work through that in the business, okay? So if you are in January and planning January, you're not going to win in business. That's called winging it, and that doesn't work, right? You should not enter a class. By the way, I know you high-level instructors who own the business. You can walk into a class and just teach it randomly and do whatever, and it's probably great and fire, awesome, but you wouldn't let your staff member do that. So don't plan your business that way either, all right? If you want scale and you might want to sell your business one day, you better be planning for this kind of stuff, okay? By the way, note, if you ever want to sell your karate school, I've helped 4 people sell their school this calendar year, and most of them were selling for $350K plus, which is not a lot of money. It is for the martial arts industry, okay? And so like, if that's something you need help with, you got to plan for that. You can't just say, hey, tomorrow I want to sell my business, because most martial arts businesses close and their transfer or they're handed off for $0, okay? Because they're not planning. So we're talking about planning your year, planning your month, planning the quarters, predicting your cycles. If your goal is to make $500,000 in your credit school, it's not, whatever the actual math is, $42,000 or $41,000 over 12 months. It's not going to be that way. I knew every 4th month was a hockey stick month because we planned it. If you need help with planning, right? First of all, make sure you hit us up. You can email success@riseusa.com. We have a free calendar guidebook for the whole year for you to help plan this. And also, we'll help book a time with you to kind of take you and walk you through the process, how it's going to work for you. And you can predict where your business is going. You can control it. You can steer the car in the right direction. So you have success, not just financially, not just with a lot of members, but you also have that peace of mind that you know where you're going because you can predict it, right? So simple. Print out a calendar right now. You got time. Don't plan January and January. Don't plan Q1 right now. Plan 2025 through 2030. Be 5 moves ahead if you can, 5 years ahead if you can. If you can be a great chess master, be 10 years, all right? Know where you're going to be. I know where I want to be in 7 years, for sure, all right? And so it's not that difficult. It just means you've got to actually own the role of being the CEO of your business. And we want to help you do that. All right, guys, hey, make sure you hit us success@riseusa.com. We'll email you that calendar for planning, and anything me or my team can do to help you win and rise to your next level, we're here to help you. All right, guys, take care.